Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? A friend, a colleague, maybe even a family member. The sting of that betrayal can feel unbearable, can't it? It leaves a scar. Now, imagine you knew with absolute certainty that someone sitting at your dinner table was about to betray you, not just in a small way, but in a way that would lead directly to your suffering and death. What would you do? Would you confront them? Would you scream and rage? Would you throw them out? This isn't a hypothetical drama. It's the scene of one of history's most profound moments, the Last Supper. And at that table, Jesus of Nazareth sat, knowing full well what was in the heart of one of his closest friends, Judas Iscariot. Let's transport ourselves back to that upper room in Jerusalem. The air is thick with anticipation and a heavy sense of finality. Passover is being celebrated. Jesus is surrounded by his 12 disciples, the men who had left everything to follow him for 3 years. They've seen miracles, they've heard his teachings, they are his inner circle. And yet one of them has already made a deal to hand him over to the authorities for 30 pieces of silver. The most astounding part of this story isn't the betrayal itself. Betrayal, sadly, is a common thread in the fabric of human history. No, the truly revolutionary part is Jesus' response. The Gospel of John tells us that Jesus was troubled in spirit. He felt the pain. He wasn't a detached, emotionless figure. He was human, and the knowledge of this impending treachery hurt him deeply. But what did he do with that hurt? He didn't expose Judas in a fury. He didn't point a finger and shout, "Traitor!" Instead, he continued the meal. He washed the disciples' feet, including Judas's. Can you picture that? The Son of God on his knees, washing the feet of the man who would sell him out. This act of service, of radical humility, was not a performance. It was a final, powerful lesson in grace. Then Jesus made a general announcement. He said, "Truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." The room erupted in confusion. The disciples, in their distress, started asking, "Is it I, Lord?" They were examining their own hearts. None of them, except Judas, knew who it was. This shows that Judas had played his part so well that no one suspected him. He was a trusted member of the group, the treasurer, in fact. Even when John, the disciple Jesus loved, leaned in and asked him privately who it was, Jesus didn't make a public spectacle. He simply said, "It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." Then he dipped the bread and gave it to Judas. This wasn't an act of accusation. In that culture, sharing a dipped piece of bread was an act of friendship, of honor. It was one last, silent, poignant offer of connection, one final chance. It was as if to say, "I know what you're about to do, but even now, I am offering you fellowship. The door is not closed." Judas took the bread, and it's then that the scripture says, Satan entered into him. Jesus then tells him, "What you are about to do quickly." The other disciples, still oblivious, thought Jesus was just sending Judas out to buy more supplies or to give something to the poor. They had no idea they were witnessing the final moments before the great betrayal was set in motion. This is where we find the core of an incredible lesson in emotional maturity and leadership. Jesus didn't let another person's brokenness, another person's evil choice, dictate his own behavior. His mission, his love, and his grace were not conditional on the loyalty of his followers. He maintained his character in the face of the ultimate personal attack. Think about our own lives. How often do we let someone else's negativity, their gossip, or their betrayal derail us? How often do we react with equal toxicity, allowing their darkness to extinguish our light? We get consumed by the desire for revenge, for our gotcha moment, to expose them and see them publicly humiliated. We want justice, and we want it now. But Jesus shows us a different way, a higher way. He demonstrates that true strength isn't about overpowering your enemies. It's about maintaining your integrity when you have every reason to lose it. It's about offering grace when a grudge is what's expected. He was anchored in his purpose, and that purpose was bigger than the betrayal of one man. This isn't to say we should be doormats or passively accept abuse. There's a difference. Jesus wasn't naive. He knew exactly what was happening. His actions weren't about ignoring the wrong. They were about transcending it. He was modeling a form of leadership that is not reactive, but proactive. He was proactively loving, proactively forgiving. Even in the face of a foreknown betrayal, he chose his response. He chose to wash Judas's feet. He chose to share the bread. This event forces us to ask some hard questions. Can we love people who we know might hurt us? Can we extend grace to those who have already wronged us? Forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay. It's about releasing ourselves from the prison of bitterness and a desire for revenge. It's about choosing to operate from a place of love and integrity, regardless of the choices others make. The story of Judas at the Last Supper is a painful one, but it's also one of the most beautiful demonstrations of unconditional love in human history. Jesus knew he would be betrayed, and yet he shared the table. He didn't let the betrayal poison the fellowship. He didn't let the darkness of one heart overshadow the love he had for all of them. In our own worlds, whether we're leading a company, a family, or just leading ourselves, we will face our own Judas moments. People will disappoint us. They will let us down. They may even betray us. In those moments, we have a choice. We can react with anger and bitterness, or we can take a deep breath and remember the scene in that upper room. We can choose to maintain our character, to lead with grace, and to keep our hearts open, even when it's the hardest thing in the world to do. That is the ultimate test of emotional maturity and the hallmark of truly transformative leadership. Thank you so much for watching and reflecting on this with me today. If this message resonated with you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. It really helps us grow our community. Until next time, take care.